Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, nomadcapitalist.com, here in Dubai doing a little R&D weekend, meeting with some banker friends of mine, some immigration friends of mine, learning the latest that's going on here in the Gulf. But I wanted to make a quick video for you to tell you a story of a friend of mine whom I just spoke with recently and pass along a lesson that she learned the hard way, unfortunately, about why every business owner really needs to have a second passport. Now, I've talked for years about the need for really anyone who's a globally minded person to have a second passport. For some people who have a low-risk situation, I think that just going out, getting a paper residency, becoming naturalized in 5 years or 3 years or 7 years, whatever, may be okay. If you're a business owner, I think it's really important to have a passport as soon as you can, whether it's through a citizenship by investment program, a fast-track naturalization program, potentially citizenship by descent if you can get it done quickly enough, such as in Ireland. But I think if you're a business owner, you want to try and get a passport in your hands as quickly as possible. A second passport with a second citizenship. And so my friend's story, which I've heard before, was that she grew up in a different place than I did. I grew up in the United States. She did not. She grew up somewhere else. And when I first met her, I realized that, like me, she never felt like she fit in where she was from. She's totally different. She's really gung-ho. She's aggressive. She's intense. Totally different than anyone else really from her country, especially for women. And she built up two big businesses in the same industry, but two different kind of branch companies, and made a lot of money, I think in the millions of dollars, at a very young age. One day, a couple disgruntled people came in and started a whisper campaign, ultimately got the attraction of a prosecutor who put her under some charges, froze her assets, froze her bank accounts, they canceled her passport, and ultimately she was able to travel to another country and able to live there while she defends herself. And ultimately, I think that she actually will do a very good job defending herself and will probably prevail. But the lesson here is very simple. In today's world of terrorism and money laundering and the Russia probe and all these different things that you see going on in the world today, governments and regulatory bodies and banks and everybody else have really adopted an ask or shoot first, ask questions later approach. I've seen this numerous times before. I've had one or two guys who I've worked with in the past who have been attacked by various regulatory bodies in the United States. One of them had to just settle, even though he said, Andrew, I've done nothing wrong. He said, they have endless resources and they'll just fight me until I'm bankrupt. So, you see a lot of this happening where if you're in business, especially if you're in a high-risk business, especially if you're marketing stuff, if you're selling stuff, if you're in some kind of financial services industry, if you're in the crypto business, not only do you see the regulations of those businesses themselves coming down on you, such as where, if you're a crypto investor, being a U.S. citizen puts you at a disadvantage. That's separate. What I'm saying is having a second passport can help you avoid the situation of my friend where they come in, they cancel your passport, they freeze your money, and you're just left fighting. I know people who know other people who have also seen this, where once they freeze your money, how do you hire a lawyer to defend yourself? So my strategy is this. There's a number of legal offshore strategies that somebody should use, including keeping some money in other places. But for me, the number one thing that you should do in a business is set some money aside and go out and get yourself a second citizenship. In the case of my friend, she's going to have a hard time going and getting a quick passport to be able to travel at all. But she's going to have a hard time going to, for example, the Caribbean, because the due diligence process for the citizenship by investment programs is very strong. I've been through 2 of these myself. They really dig into you in a big, big way. They look into criminal, they look into civil, they look into lawsuits, they look into, stuff that's posted here or there. And they look into anything that's out there. They will dig into it. And if it's not able to be substantiated, then great. But, if you're under investigation they don't really they don't want to hear the story. They're just going to say, sorry, we don't want to hear you. And even if you're later exonerated, they still may not want to hear you. So, I was very lucky that, I had a sparkling clean record and I was able to go through that due diligence process. My friend and other people whom I know who have had government bodies come after them, even though they later won, I think may still have trouble getting a second citizenship through investment in the future. Now there are, again, fast-track naturalization programs, there are residency programs. Those may be less guaranteed, they may take more time, and if you really need a passport in an emergency situation, as my friend found herself in, you want fast. You don't want to be waiting around for years. You don't want to be guessing. So here's my advice if you own a business. I'm not going to put a particular number on it, but I can tell you, if you're making $500,000 or $1 million a year, take out $100,000 plus some legal fees. Go and get a Caribbean citizenship by investment. Or if you prefer, come to somebody like me and we can work through and figure out, hey, maybe you invest $250,000 over here and pay much lesser legal fees. And you can get something, in a year rather than 6 months. That may be acceptable. But putting in the work to get the second passport before you need it, to me, is very important. In today's world of business, you see so many people just coming after people aggressively. I mean, it really is shoot first, ask questions later. And, if you've been investigated, people just may not want to touch you later, even if you won. Now, this is not saying that you should be running a business where you are running the risk of being investigated or where you're doing stuff where you're going to get in trouble. I'm not saying that at all. I like to run things very clean. That's how I was raised. But there are certainly situations where honest people are wrapped up in situations. And I know honest business people who've gotten in trouble. And I think that a lot of times, if they would have had an offshore bank account, had a second passport, they would have had a lot easier time with it. So really, listen, maybe you're making $100,000 a year in a business that's really on the radar. Maybe it's crypto, maybe it's some kind of, more aggressive marketing kind of company or affiliate marketing, or you're selling nutraceuticals or something. I know guys who sell nutraceuticals. They sell supplements, health supplements. And the government, especially in the US, is really coming down on that stuff like a ton of bricks all the time. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're running a bad business, doesn't mean you're taking advantage of people, it just means the regulators don't like it. So having a second passport, I think, gives you a lot of options. And maybe you're making $100,000 a year in a higher risk business that's more on the radar. Maybe you want to take a higher percentage of your money and go out and get a passport. I think that really any business owner who's at the $500,000 to $1 million a year level should just say, I'm going to take $100,000, perhaps at a maximum or some number like that, and I'm going to go out and get myself a second citizenship before it's too late. So my reminder to you is, people say, oh, I'll work on that tomorrow. Sometimes having a second passport, for some people, it's like having an insurance policy. Buying car insurance isn't sexy, so it gets put on the back burner. It's one of those things where it might sit on the back burner until it's too late, which is why, even if you think you'll never need it, even if you're a squeaky clean business person, which I recommend that you be, you never know when you may have a need. You never know when your situation may change. There's also a lot of other benefits from a second passport, of being able to live in a different country, being able to protect yourself, being able to pass your citizenship on to your family, giving them more options. There's a lot of positive options that even if something bad doesn't happen, you'll be able to benefit from. But I think that my friend's story really reminded me to talk to people about the idea that you never know when something may impact your ability to do this, which is why it's always better to do it now. We've got a lot of videos on second passports, how the process works, legal ways to do it here on our channel. So definitely click the subscribe button. If you're looking for more advanced strategies, if you say, hey, you know what, which of these passports is for me? I'd rather not donate $100,000. Maybe there's a way I can invest some money and get a passport. You can come to our website, nomadcapitalist.com. We can sit down and figure out what's the best way to do that, so that you can get your portfolio put together. I would not have been able to help this person because where she's from is not a place that I work with folks. But if you're looking for some help and you're a Western business owner and you think that there is a need for this, then I hope that you'll check out nomadcapitalist.com, read a lot of our more advanced materials, and perhaps reach out.